Kavanos. And we're going to look at some of the notes and this idea that we have seen this before, but of the inserts that we want to make in the Shmona Esrei. So we're looking actually at number Tes. Number Tes in page Kaf Bet, where we're at right now. So it says agam sarak lekavin kavanas elu b'amida b'kol hayomim hahem b'defidus amida shal yemei bein hamitzarim yesh lahosiv lekavin od kama kavanos hamiyuchadas le'elu hayomim v'v'shivur. He says he necha b'birchas avos ba'osach habavaya rishona, the first havaya tekaver and shetoyer zer havaya al temerasel. This makes the name Tat. I remember, so we went through this last year, but it's easy to forget. So he says at the end of the brachot. Because there's a brachot at the beginning, brachot at the end. He said, Shem Tat. Shu Hashem Hayotze Ma'osios HaKodmos La'osios Hashem Havaya. Yekavin Shem Havaya Yoyer the Shem Tat. So that's the idea, is that the Havaya, not the other way around, it should shine into this chiluf. Havaya Shechel Adach Hagibor on that one, Tekavin Shetoyer Havaya Zu Shel Tevarasach Hayotze Bechiluf Osios Shel Achra Who Kos. Now exactly why front, back, and then he's going to go a different way. The bracha shniya b'chavayit the chasimas habracha, when we finish the bracha, kavin shem kos shul hashem hayotze ma'osya shel acher osya shem havaya. So you go the back way on the other side. The kavin shem havaya yoyer the shem kos, and once again, the idea is that the havaya should sweeten the kos. So you went to the front, you went to the back. Of havaya shlishis. Ata Kadosh, he says the Kavin Shetoyer Zu Vaya Al Tumarasa Ba'atbash. So he says, so again, this is going through a cipher and really changing. They're all ciphers in a way. They're changing it. V'hi Matz, it's the name Matz. So Bebracha Shlish B'Chavaya the Chasimas Habracha Kavin Shem Matz. What is Matz? Matz is the name of Havaya Shu Hashem Hayotzim Bechila for Osius Havaya into it from the cipher called Atbash. So once again, and this is used a lot. I just wonder what its particular power is, Atbash, but it has one. So he says Atbash V'Yakavin Shashem Havaya Yoyer L'Shem Matz. That's the idea, is that the Havaya illuminates these other names. So he says number Yud Gimel, he said V'hinei Shlosha Shemas in his Karim, which Tad, Koz, and Matz, Hem B'Gematria Shin. So Shin, I just wondering about it, is the Gematria 360, which is the circumference of the circle. Of course, it's not going this way, but he said circumference of a circle. This circle really represents the Nook. So let's see exactly. So if you put these together, you switch front, back, and then this matz with an atbach, it's going to give you to the number 360. Shlosha shemas in his karma, which are Tad and Koz and matz, olem yachda begematria shin ima kolel. So it's number 360 if you put the kolel in. Because it's there b'chakdama. So this is written. He says in the Hadaka the Kavanas the Holon. He's going to talk about that later on. He says, let me see, where are we now? So let me just stop there and let me see if we could do a little any shefa on this. On the shefa, which is is going to be number ches. Number ches at the bottom, where he had said, Gam sark l'kavin kavanas elo b'ramida, b'kol hayomim mahem, all of these days, during the 17th days. 17 days, but pre-Eitz Chaim, what does it say over there? Kodem shemevich v'chazakabanas del halon kosav v'zelashona. This is a quote. He says, Hinei bein hamitzarim l'hiyosef sakana ma'od, because it's a time of tremendous danger. I think maybe we saw this yesterday, I'm not sure. Shekatav Meriri Sholed Bechem, because there is a evil force in the world at that time called Katav Meriri. Sholed Bechem Lechein Sarak Lekavein Eloh HaKavona. So therefore, this is the way to nullify that force. Kedei Lahamtek Dinim Shesholtim Be'eloh HaYamim, because there are tremendous dinim that have power at that time. Below Yihi HaKorch B'Chitzonim La'achos Od B'Dinim Me'elu. So he says that this is a formula. How the formula works, I don't know, but it is the formula to protect us from Katav Meriri. So then it goes to the number Taz, where it said, B'kol HaYomim Mahim, Yesh Ta'ayim in Yesh Ta'kavin Kavana Zochel B'Rosh Chodesh V'Shabbos Kodesh. So the question is, since it said all of the Yomim, why not all of them, including Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh? V'im Tim Salomer Shabbos Ein B'Kuvonim came, but if you want to say that, Mahu L'Kavin Zos B'Mincha Erev Shabbos, or what about that time? V'hinach B'Loshan Rav B'Kol HaYomim Mahim, that's the quote. Mashbach HaKitzash B'Kol HaYomim Haladocha B'Kuvonim came. So all of the days, and I guess then it should include that, which would be Gam Shabbos V'Rosh Chodesh, Michu Nirish Alamaisach Be'ein Mincha B'Kavein came B'Shabbos V'Tzarech Ian, but he says that it seems like in practicality and actual practice, I guess, he said people don't do that. Kavein came B'Shabbos V'Tzarech Ian, but there's much more to be said. So now let's look at number Yud. Number Yud says like this, Ba'osach Havaya Rishon Tekavein. So what do we get out of that? So this is the way that this is the Kavana as it's written in the Siddur. He's going to show it to us. Let me see if I got it here. So he says, this is from the Mudfas on Chelik Beis, etc. Beina Meitzarim Yekavi B'Chavavaya Zuchu B'Kiluva B'Shem Zeh. So this is actually the instruction in the Rishash, I guess. Of a Siddur Reb Shabbosai, he says, Beina Mitzarim, it says like this, Yekavin B'Chasibas Havaya Zu, L'Hoyer Mishem Havaya El Osius HaKodmos Lo Kazeh. It's Tat, L'Hamtiko. And what happens then? You use the Havaya to sweeten the name that's before it. Now there's some rule here that would be nice to know, because he says that if you move it to the right, which is a side of Chesed, but it's no longer the name Havaya, so when you take the name of Havaya and you shine it into that, let's say, in this case, Tad. So he says, El Oses with Kolbos, though, which are Tad, L'Hamtiko. It says like this, that the real order of the Kavana is this. Sheyakavin Sheyoyer Shem B'Vayel the Shem Shalufonov, which is the name Tad. So that's the idea. So it's a switch to the right, but it's weaker apparently than it's like you're sweetening what's coming in front of you. So what's coming in front of you is the name Tad. Calls Os La'os Shalufonov, and how do you do this? You switch the name. So Yud would go with Test. That Derek Marshall, he says, Yud, Mayor the Test. He says it's not just so simple that you say the name, but the idea is that you could really concentrate on this and quickly put the Yud, and shine it onto the Test. And then he says, Mayor the Test. So the Hey would be Mayor to the Dalet. The Vav to the Hey, then the Hey to the Dalet. So he says, so this is the same kind of path you would take in the second brachot. It's called Oz B'Shem Havaya, Toyer L'Oz Shalach Rechos, that every name of the name of Havaya should shine, every letter of the name of Havaya should shine into the word that comes behind it. So it'd be the same thing again, that you would switch and you put the Havaya on say for example the Yud, put it on the mem of Matz. So that's how you actually are supposed to do this. So this sweetens what's in front of you, what's behind you. I'm making this up, but I don't know. I can't use the same metaphor for Matz. But he's going to have more to say about Matz. So let's see. He says the Matz is a gematria of 295. So we're going to get to that. Chen b'sidur lo metzidach asher sidro as seder kavanaka. Remember, Yud Aleph goes like this: the Vaya shel atach gibor tikavein, v'zeh seder hakavana lefi shenitfesach b'seder hanitfus. So he says this is the original public, and he gives a nice site reference. So he says, so it's the name Havaya and Kos. The Siddur Reb Shabsai of Rebbeinu Metzarim Yekavin B'chasimas Havaya Zu Kos. So that's what it says over there. Min Havaya Zu, even the Lahoyer El Osius Acharayim B'chem Kazet Kos Lahamtika. So we go letter by letter like that and sweeten all of those letters. Now the third one, Uvavaya Shlishi Shabbat HaKodesh Tekavein V'zecha B'Seder HaKavana. So this is the order of the Kavana. So we have the idea here, I think, a little bit. He said Shenitvasecha B'Seder HaNitfas, etc. Bein HaMetzarim, this is what it says. Bein HaMetzarim, you have this combination of Avaya coming to sweeten the Matz, but you're going to go to the Yud to the Mem, the Hey to the Tzadi, and like that. So then he says, of a Siddur, Shabsai, he says, Bein HaMetzarim, Yekavein B'Chavaya Zu, B'Chasimasa, which is Havaya, L'Hoyer Al Chilif Havaya Mat Lahamtika. So just bringing the, that particular, the wording over there. Let's go on to the next one. Number on page Kaf Daled and number Yud Daled. It says, let's go Yud Daled. Here it is. Of the brachot birchas Ratzei. And that brachot. 1 second. Of the birchas Ratzei tekaven ki midas Ratzei he begematria elokim de milui heyin. So the word is number 295, and that's what that is. Ki Ratzei heim osius, also the word sorrow. Who so ve'es Sarah he leYaakov umemena Yivashea. So he says it's a time. We see that it's time that, and this is a time for Yaakov. Shehu Shem Elokim Dehayin. So this Sarah, it's an Es Sarah, is really the name Elokim Dehayin. So Rebbeinu Ratzei Yekaven She'Tevis Ratzei Ola Begematria Elokim B'Milui Hey, and he shows it to us. Ve'inyan Hu Sheratzei Hu Osius Tzara. The idea is to switch that. V'hu Romas the Tzaras Agalos. V'shor Shatzaros Hum Shem Elokim B'Milui Hey. So he says something about the name Elokim. If you wanted to know that it's the same, could be with a Milui of Hey, you can exchange it, or it's the equivalent of the word Sarah. V'Shem Elokim B'Chubah is Din K'Noida, and we know that to begin with, and this is the one, the Milui of Hayin, is a big time Din. V'Zera V'Sod Bein HaMetzarim, this is the secret of the concept of Bein HaMetzarim. Ki min Hashem HaNizgar Shehu Din, Yotzes B'Yomim Elo Hatzaros, so this name itself, in the balance scale of Zer Anpin, or let's say of what we're saying, of what can be coming to us, is there is a specific time, I guess, in the seasons for the tzara to come upon us. That's why it's called by that name. Why? He says the fee should be yamim halaluch b'sholtin tzaras, because this is a time when bitterness comes. A yotzes machashem hanizka should be gematria tzara, which comes from the name that we mentioned, which is in the gematria, we said, the 295. Well, the fisha yotzim tzaras gan m'shem adni, and that's another thing. Adni also could represents din. Shehu gam came b'bichin tzara kafi sheyavor b'smoch. We'll get into that. B'chein ne'kroim b'bein mitzarim. So then there's two different kinds of sorrows here. B'lashon rabim, it's plural. L'kamoshim b'var b'smoch. We'll go into it more now. So he says, wait, he's a gam tosif shem adni im ratzei shem elokim hakanizker. So you take these two forms of, I guess, they're the progenitors of din. I mean, this is going back into Olam Atzilus, seeing the origin of the din, where you have these letters of the name Elokim Deheim and the name Adni also. So he said, so he says, if you take that, and you take this name Adni and you put it together with the word Ritzeh, you're going to get the gematria of Shin Yud Nun. Again, once again, it's 360. Well, Mamshach of the Sadr as a Kavonas Birchus Ritzeh. So let's organize it. It says like this: Milvad Shem Elokim Yekaved Birchus Ritzeh. Gam Shem Adni. Put that name in there. The Vishnei Shemos Halalu Elokim B'Milui Hey Vishem Adni Olam Yachtad. Once again, the gematria of Shin, which is 360. So now this is a kavana like this. As I said, these two names actually represent two different Bate Dinim. Shehem Sod Beina Metzarim, which is what, once again, these are the two between the two different kinds of tsar. Shnei Metzarim, there are two different kinds of pain. It's also Lashon Mitzrayim. He says, Metzarim, Ha'olam Begematria Shin, 360. So he says, Yismatko al Yedere Shlosha Hashembas and Rishonos, so sweeten them by these first three names. Nis Kavanta Bechem B'Shlosha Brachos Rishonos, in the first three brachos that we said when we had these three different Hilufim, I guess, Behem Tad, Koz, and Matz. To add those together, Ha'olam Begematria, once again, we said before that it also comes to 360. So, once again, somehow, we live on a ball which is 360 in a universe of circles, and he's saying that this number, it's implied that the number 360 is referring to, Malchus, which is Adni, and it's Din, the complete circle is a Din. So Shnei Hashemas and Iskarim, which are Elokim B'Milui Hey and Adni, because this is where the Gezeros come out. He said, why? There are two different kinds of Sarah. That Lashon Rabim Shal Tsaros, and it means that it's a multiplication of Tsaros, and since it's the same word as Mitzrayim, then you see it's also practical. You could look over there. So the Kavana is now is to sweeten up these two names. So the idea is you're going to sweeten up what's coming out of the two Bate Dinim. He doesn't say it to nullify it, he says to sweeten it, because it's for a good purpose, but it has to, I guess, be sweetened. He said, B'shlosha brachos rishon shel tefilas amida v'hem shemos tad koz and matz shagam heim olium, once again to this gematria of 360. So he says, and he just uses as the letter itself in a milui. So then he goes on to number Yod Ches, and he says, Va'al Yedei Kach, through this then, he says, Osius Tzara Yischafku L'Rachamim, you can switch them. V'yir Ritzeh, which means acceptable. Hashem Elokeinu, Ritzeh Hashem Elokeinu, that Hashem Elokeinu should accept us, or it's a good name. Va'yedei Sheyismatku Hadinim Shel Shemus Elokim Adni, so if you can come, and you could sweeten up these names, these two names, Elokim of Hayan and Adni, Yischafko b'bechinat Sarah the Ritzeh. That's what his idea is. That's your kavanah. That it's going to be dinim, but it's going to be sweetened dinim. Dinim to rachamim, from dinim to rachamim, v'yihiru b'chinat Ritzeh, Hashem Elokeinu. Now, going on to number Yud Tes, he says, Berchus Sim Shalom, when we get to Sim Shalom, those are Shnei Shinim, when we have these two Shinim now, he says, Shabarosha Table Shel Sim Shalom, Tekavim El Shtei HaShinim, and Iskarim La'el, so that should be your kavanah. There are two Shinim that we mentioned up above. Beberchos Sim Shalom, Yekavim Al Derek HaKavanah Shel Berchos Ritzeh. You should have the same idea. What is that? V'hush Yekavim Sharosha Tables Sim Shalom, that the first letters are Shinim. Back to our friend the Shin. Hem Shnei Osia Shin, which is 2 360s, which is, I guess it's 720. He said, Shin Echad Romez L'Shnei Habate Dinim. So the first one of them, refers to the two Bate Dinim, Shehem Shem Elokim B'Milwei V'Shem Adni. So that's the first part of base din. Now the second Shin, Hasheni Romez Al Mitukam, is a reference to their sweetening. He said, Ha'na'asa Ayedech Shlosha Shemas Tad, which takes place as a result of using this word, of switching everything to the front, which is the name Tad. Also the Tad, the three switches, which are Tad, Koz, and Matz. Ha'olam Gam Heim B'Gematria Shin, which also comes out to the Gematria of Shin. How are we doing here? He says, Gam Ha'tevus Atzman shall Shim and Shalom, take those and add them up. Yachad Olas B'Gematria Shin, it'll come out to 720 on this card. But then it doesn't come out exactly, because as I have over here, that Sim is 350 and Shalom is 376. It's 6 too many. So he wants to compare them. So he's, let me see it again. Shnechem Yachad Ola B'Gematria Shin and Iskarim V'od Yiser Shisha. You need 6 more. Keneged Shisha Shemas and Iskarim, which are Shem Havaya V'Shlosha Tumuraso V'Hem Tad Kazan Matz. Also V'Shem Elokim V'Shem Adni. Take those 6 names and you add it onto that, and it comes out to be equivalent. V'Vazel Yakamin Shetevas Shalom Olos B'Gematria Shin Im Od Vav Yisera. So he explains it like that. He said, "Hey, Ramaz in the Mituk of Nizkar." So remember, it's a reference to that. V'Chavav Anosefis he connected Shisha Shemus and its Karim. Shehem Shem Bavaya Achaz V'Shlosha T'Maraso Tad Koz and Matz. V'Chein Shemus Elokim V'Adni. Add that in, you get the whole number. And that's the whole story for today. Thank you for learning with me. Kol Tov.